All right. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Are doing well.
Good morning, Rob.
Good morning. All right. So we're in Reish Pei Vez, and we just finished. Did we finish? We almost finished, or we did finish. Hold on. No, we finished Stalin. All the Mishnah Beruras, the comments of the Mishnah Berurah, I believe we finished in Sif Dalid, which again we talked about. What happens when you have multiple Sifrei Torah, positioning the maftir? Can we call up a child for maftir? When there is another Sefer Torah, meaning there's a maftir that's not a repetition of the end of the parsha. And we said that this was even those who would call up a child for maftir, which again generally is not our minhag today. There are kehilot that do this, and one should not necessarily frown upon them. There is what to say in terms of backing that up. And you even saw that the Ramah had quoted V'chei Noagin, that's even calling up Katan for the Arba Parshios. There was a lot of pushback on that because the Arba Parshios, one of them is for sure Doraisa, one of them, as we read yesterday, is maybe a Doraisa, Parshas Para. And even just any maftir that is special, we said like that doesn't make sense to call up a Katan. One of the things that the Be'er Halacha points out is like, Be'er Halacha or the Aruch HaShulchan, one of them said this. No, is that Be'er Halacha, where he says, if you're going to call up a katan, they better know their stuff, because it's enough we're already making adults that a gadol doesn't always know how to read Mila b'Mila with the Shaliach Tzibur, with the Bal Koreh. But now you're going to get involved with another kula and now call up a child who doesn't know how to read word for word with the Bal Koreh. That's already a drop too far. It's enough that we are pretty lenient about calling up adults who might not know how to read, and we let them go up and get an aliyah. But to take that extra, kula, as in his words, which was lama tzarich lahakel kol kach bekatan legabev kol hakulot lahadade, right? We have to add another kula, and we're going to call up a child who also doesn't know how to read word for word. Better that we should, leave out, calling up the child. I think that's sort of the general consensus here, which is like, why are we getting involved in another kula? I think that's why generally children are not called up today to get the maftir, aliyah.
How about normal aliyah?
What was that? No. Again, by the letter of the law, yes, it would be permissible on Shabbos. Maftir means to conclude. Ein maftir nachar Pesach afikomen. We don't. No, it means to conclude. They are the closer, you might call them, to use a baseball term here.
I think
the child. There are places even today, right, where they will call the child up for maftir and he'll lay in the haftorah. Right. Our practice, we don't do this.
No, but
yeah,
practice is that's you're repeating the list.
Yes, unless there is a special parsha for that day, like para or Achodesh that's coming up next week. Unless there's a special reading for that week, we repeat the end of the kriya from that week. Yeah. Correct. That's why that was more reason. It's just repetition, right? Exactly. So it's not, what's at stake. Also, someone else is laning. So, even if the child doesn't, know it exactly perfectly, but we'll read the aliyah. 100%. That's the original sort of statement of the Gemara that kol olam l'minyan shiva, as long as they can read and they know who they're making a bracha to. Now we have the minhag of a Bal Koreh, which just take out the embarrassment factor. People don't know how to lay. Right? Person gets up there, I don't know how to read. We don't have to start embarrassing them. They're tripping over and fumbling over their words.
Rob?
The child, yeah. Perhaps, though I'm not so sure that's the case. The Haftorah, even today in many communities, not how many, some communities will read from a scroll, from a cloth. So there's no nikudot, there's no ta'amim, The question is he the most proficient? He can give you, he can find somebody, or child or not child, get 90% right. In some communities, 90% right is no way. Like he'll throw you out from being the next time getting a chance. So I think that obviously, if you're calling up a child, he knows for the most part what he's doing. But meaning, like at any aliyah, when you get an aliyah, and Simeon, I'll call you in just a second. I see your hand. So Steve asked the question, which was, what does the Be'er Halacha mean when it says that he doesn't know how to read word for word from the Ksav? I think he writes the word, right? Mitoch haktav, right? So what he's talking about is that which is the standard practice when you get an aliyah. Okay, you make the brachos. The balkor goes amen, but really you're supposed to read along word for word. That's why he means mitoch haktav from the text, right? He's talking about reading word for word. If the child can't do that, by the way, and this is not me being. We know there are many adults who are not comfortable doing that, right? They get an aliyah, they stand there. Sometimes they're unsure what to do. Even what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to stand there, not just to even follow along. You're supposed to actually kind of whisper along with the balkor, and lane with him. So they're talking about here a child who doesn't even know how to do that, and now we're going to already be extra makil. He points out we do that already with adults. He says, why already a child has another kula? It's like, just don't do it. That's what he's talking about there. Okay.
Rav?
Yes, go ahead, Simeon.
Yeah, I believe that even if the child is competent in reading, even from the Torah, I believe he shouldn't be up there because you would have the following problem. If he is below the age of a religious adult, he doesn't have the mitzvah upon him, and he cannot be motzei the rest of the kehillah.
Well, that's certainly the case for like Parshas Zachor, or again, even Parshas
Yes, of the four, because this is not a repetition.
Right. That's one of the svaras that is given for why for the Dalet Parshios you shouldn't call up a katan for maftir. Yes, you're absolutely right. That is one of the arguments that's made. Very good. Yep, absolutely. All right, let's move on to Sif Hey now. So going to Sif Hey, where the Mishnah Berurah begins and says, "Im lo nimsa mishi yodea lahaftir." By the way, this is like advanced gabos. This is not the 101 class. So this is the right. So you can't figure. There's nobody who can do maftir, meaning no one do the haftorah. Okay, that's the person who's going to get the maftir aliyah, except for one of the people who you've already called up. So you got shlishi, you got Ravi. Now the gabbai in this little tiny minion going around goes, who knows how to learn Haftorah? And the guy who got shlishi raises his hand. He goes, maybe another guy can make the bracha. Right? So what does he do? Ukvar amar shliach tzibur kaddish achar kriyas. Turn the page here. Kriyas haparsha. So, and already there's been a kaddish recited by the shliach tzibur after the completion of the parsha. So they've done the 7 aliyos, or maybe they've had hosafos, but the parsha is over. Okay. This one that wants to do the haftorah, who already did shlishi, I'm just giving you as an example, needs to go back and read again. You say, well, but he already read from the Torah. Why is it a bizayon for the Torah? Because like everyone knows, he only is reading the haftorah. He's already gotten aliyah before. Remember we talked about that's the whole reason for why the maftir has to get an aliyah in the Torah, because he can't just start reading Navi without acknowledging the chashivas of the Torah. Because that way it puts the Navi in its place, which is not on the level of the Torah. Okay? But he already got Shlishi. He read from the Torah. Because he could just skip right to Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam Asher Bachar. We'll go faster, right? He doesn't have to do maftir. He already lane from the Torah. The answer is no. He has to go back and have another aliyah. Tzarech lachazor v'likros. Vivarech al kriyaso tchila v'asof, and he even has to make brachos. It's not just he can come up and just lane. He has to make the brachos. Oh, he already made brachos. He made brachos the Torah already 10 minutes ago on Shlishi. Doesn't matter. He has to make it again. That's the takana of maftir.
What do you do if the only person who knows how to do the Haftorah is a Kohen or a Levi? Then you're really in a pickle.
That's okay. You can call them for the maftir aliyah. All are eligible. All are eligible receivers for maftir, Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. Yes.
Oh, sure.
So even Kohanim can get this aliyah.
It's interesting. The Mechaber says that the Shliach Tzibor says Kaddish. We don't do that. It's generally the
Here by Shliach Tzibor he means the Balkora. Yes, because he is being mostly the Tzibor. He's the Shliach Tzibor. I don't think they use the term Balkora as much.
Them telling us that about Kaddish.
Well, because there's be a big demarcation here. Because what if the Shvi guy knows how to say Haftorah? He knows how to chant the Haftorah. So yeah, that's where this will come into a minimum. So it makes sense. Yes, Sue. That is. So do you remember this? Do you remember this? Wasn't there some? He went to one of these. He went to a camp in the summer where they ask, question of the week. Remember this? Like I forget. It was like a riddle of the week. And it was one of these like, how can a Kohen get 3 aliyahs? Right there's some answer like that. It asks the most far-fetched questions. He comes home. He goes, but what's the? I don't. These are like they never happen kind of questions. Some of them I got, by the way. But that was one of the questions. How does a Kohen get? The question was, how does a Kohen get 3 consecutive aliyahs in a day? And the answer was, he gets maftir, and then he gets Shabbos Mincha Kohen, and then there's no Levi. So they had a lot of fun questions like that. That was a very much the kind of question like they asked it at his.
Could you repeat that? Could you repeat that, Rav?
The riddle the riddle. How does a Kohen get 3 consecutive aliyahs in one day?
Yeah.
Which was maftir and in the morning, and then Shabbos Mincha he gets Kohen, and then there's no Levi, and so he gets the Levi aliyah. It's a fun riddle.
It's not one kriya.
Yeah, correct. That's why it was. You had to think out of the box for the riddle.
Okay.
There was one Kohen, no Levi. They davened Shabbos, Musaf, and then Mincha. It was like one of those only Shabbos.
Oh my goodness!
So the same kid from the university got 4
he gets
aliyahs.
4 aliyahs. Good morning to. Yeah, correct. If there was no one to do the maftir, but David Noble was there, so I had no chance. Okay, let's look at the Ramah, then we'll go back to the Mishnah Berurah. Aval im lo amar kaddish, and this goes to your point, David, which is let's say you didn't say kaddish though, okay? The yaftir misha Allah shvi im yodea, and you're in this pickle. You're like, oh, who knows how to do Haftorah? And shvi knows how to do Haftorah. So, and you didn't say kaddish yet. You can pause it. Don't say kaddish. You're now going to go straight into laying the Haftorah.
No maftir.
No maftir. What's the point? The point of the maftir is that the guy who lanes the Haftorah has to lane mitoch haksav, right? First. So it's not a bizarre to the Torah, but he just laned. He was shvi. So you pause the davening. Not pause davening. Actually, you just say, okay, we're going weiter. We're going straight to Baruch Atah Hashem Elokei. Okay, you probably have to do Hagba, by the way. Okay, you do Hagba. But then you immediately go to the Haftorah. Immediately go to the Haftorah. Again, I told you this is advanced Shabbos right here.
Great.
Yeah.
Does the Balkore have to repeat the maftir again?
No.
Or he goes right into it?
No, because the maftir is the shvi. So he just laned. So therefore we're good to go.
Long Baal Shachris. This is a good idea to cut up a couple of minutes.
Correct. This is a great way to save. By the way, I go back to this, and this was me rereading this, and I was trying to remember what we did during COVID, during the early days of COVID, when the same guy got the aliyah over and over and over again. I don't recall what we did. I don't remember. I hope what we did was the correct thing, which was that after the 7th aliyah, we just went right. You did Hagba, and you went right into the Haftorah, and then you're actually, we'll get to this a little later, then you're supposed to say the Chatzi Kaddish after the Haftorah concludes.
Really?
Yes, we'll get there in a moment. But if this were ever to happen to you, you're in a small minyan, a makeshift minyan, and the only person who can lane the Haftorah, turns out your guy raises his hand and goes, yeah, actually, I know. Then you just continue. He would lane, he would go ahead and Haftorah. Right. V'im yesh acherim sheyodin lahaftir. Important point. Yes. Lo yaftir misha alakva. Then we don't get involved in this whole machlokas. If someone else knows how to do it, call up to someone else who knows how to do it. It's only when you have the one guy and the one guy got shvi.
It's a deal to do that.
Yeah. And by the way, this sounds like a minyan which has a very disorganized gabbai because he should have figured this out beforehand. Yes. Why don't we just call up the shvi and let him lane?
Sounds like it's not optimal.
Because it says, if there's anybody else who would know it.
He's asking now why. He's saying why. Why not just shvi should always be the guy.
Cut off a couple of minutes.
No, but I think they want that extra bracha. I think they want that. Right? I mean, I think that it's better to sort of do it, right? I think that's what you're saying. You could do that, but if there's.
But there's counter pressure. He's saying that it's Hilchot
They shave off a few minutes.
So,
Right, that's how many people bring it up there. Yes.
This one.
Yeah, more the better. Let the kids stay in the group.
Right. So look,
but the bracha for the Haftorah still has to be made by the guy that got the final aliyah in the Torah.
Oh, for sure. No question. That's a separate takana to make the brachos before and after the Haftorah.
It's very interesting, right? They do not say what David mentioned, which a lot of communities do,
Where somebody else makes the
they will
bracha.
have someone who gets the aliyah.
I know, and then someone else lanes it.
The bracha of the Haftorah, and then somebody else reads it.
Right.
Yeah,
We've seen
that's. I think it's sort of a little bit like.
No, even so, even if you have people, I've seen that, especially at Chabad's and stuff like that. You know, where people
Right.
don't know.
I have seen it where it's not only from the Ksav. I remember actually when I was at YU and in the main base medrash, they laned from a klaf for the Haftorah. And it was, I didn't daven there on Shabbos, so it wasn't on Shabbos, but it must have been a fast day or something like that in the afternoon. And they had someone make the brachos, who had just gotten shlishi, and then someone who would lane from the klaf for the Haftorah, and then that person would say the brachos at the end, who got the aliyah. They don't bring it up here. I mean, we will get to in 2 simanim is the laws of the Haftorah. So we will talk about that. And then I didn't preview yet myself to see if there is someone who this is mentioned there that someone would. That's the. I was once sort of. I was the child learned the wrong Haftorah for his bar mitzvah, and it was his bar mitzvah because it was some macha chodesh or something like that. They didn't take into account. The kid learned the wrong one. I think that the rabbi, not here, I wasn't here. I think that the rabbi there paskined like that. They had the kid do and the rabbi or something like that laned in addition the Haftorah of the day. Therefore, like, okay, it was a big tircha of the tzibur, but also the kid would have been like, right. I just spent weeks and weeks trying to figure this out. But it's a good point. Look, you can do that. That would obviously alleviate this. Look. I would say that this probably comes from a similar place. Originally speaking, even for the Torah reading, we didn't use a shliach tzibur. When you got called up for an aliyah, you laned it. You knew it and you laned it. There's something to be said for you get the aliyah, you lane it. It is the optimal way to do it. And it's probably, look, we already see that there was a shift to the shliach tzibur for the balkorei for kriyas HaTorah. So probably it's not the most ideal thing to do for the Haftorah. Again, is it illegal? No, we're not saying it's illegal, but it's certainly, I would say it's probably not the ideal. And maybe here we're dealing with a world of lechatchila. There's someone who knows how to lane it, and This isn't about some like the bar mitzvah case or the the off-roof where okay, you got to get the aliyah, but you learn the wrong one, right? So maybe that's what's going on here. It's a good point though. All right, let's go backwards now to the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Katan Chaf Zayin. Imlo Nimsa. You have nobody except for someone who already got an aliyah. Now this is actually much more. This is another case where this really happens. I think we've had this here in our shul even, by the way. Okay, take a look. B'Shabbat shel Chazon. Shabbos Chazon. The Haftorah has a different nigun, right? Afilu nimsa mishi yireh lahaftir benavi rak shelo yoda lekonen kanohug. You have a guy who can lay in the Haftorah, but he doesn't know the Eicha trap. Doesn't know how to lay in the Haftorah properly with the Eicha. So Gam Kain Dina Hachi. That's also then same thing. Got to call up the guy who knows how to lay in with the Eicha trap. There's only one guy in the whole Kehil who knows how to. By the way, who always used to get the Mafti Aliyah for many years here. Got the Mafti Aliyah that Shabbos in the main shul. Bob Hoke. Every week, every year without fail. He was the one guy who everyone could trust. He was going to lay in it perfectly. Because there's also the switching. You have to start and then you have to switch and then you have to switch back. And that's not the easiest thing to do in one step. By the way, I struggle with that, even the switching of the trap in my head.
I did it this year. I had to stop
and reprogram yourself. It's not so easy, right? That's why Bob got that aliyah every year. Bob got that aliyah. I don't know the answer to that question.
But I've heard people like from Italy, in a tune that neither Sephardim or
yes
or Ashkenazim laying the average Haftorah.
Right. That's an excellent question.
Big point about it.
I will be honest that I've never heard Eicha laid in with Sephardic Ta'amim. I'm sure there is such a I'm always in the Ashkenazi, so I've never heard it, but I'm sure there is, and I don't know what the custom is like. Oh, on Shabbos Haftorah, do they do a different nigun? I could see that there are those who say like no, which is, by the way, I see here in my extra comments of the Chazon Ish, the meaning the Chazon Ish quotes was that he thought on Shabbos Chazon you lay in with a regular trup. That's what the Chazon Ish said. The Chazon Ish would lay in with the regular trup on Chazon. That's very much custom driven. But if that's the custom of the shul, that's the custom of the it's a pretty strong. I'm going to put the Chazon Ish aside for a second, which is not. It's a big caveat. That's But the Chazon Ish did not want to lane it. Did not have it laned with the Eicha truck. Why? I don't know why the Chazon Ish insisted that it should be laned regular. Yeah.
That's because he would wear his Shabbos clothes. He was like, this is like Shabbos. So
because it's Avelus before Hesia. He thought if it's Shabbos, how can you lane it with an Avelus tune? He says no, it's Shabbos.
Did he not change it in the Megillah?
No, during Eicha he did.
I'm saying Megillah. I'm saying Megillah that's
on Shabbos.
But it's only on Shabbos. Yeah, it's because Shabbos. Right, but you don't lane the Megillah on Shabbos.
It's a tune that you put into Megillah.
Yes.
Oh yes, because it's only his problem was that there's a halacha that on Shabbos there are some who have a minhag on Shabbos Chazon. Those of you who did with Steve in Vav and Mishnah Berurah Sif the Chelek Vav when you did the things that relate to Tisha B'Av, which I know was probably actually a long time ago at this point, but you probably covered there that you can't have for Shabbos Chazon, there's a question. The Ramah quotes like you're supposed to wear your nicest clothing for Shabbos Chazon. Some say no, you have to dafka wear Shabbos. How could you have Avelus for Hesia? You should wear exactly what you always wear. So, so the Chazon Ish takes it to its natural, place, which is if you say on Shabbos you cannot have Avelus before Hesia, then you shouldn't lane it with a trup that's related to a day that's of all Avelus. I hear the Chazon Ish is.
The more with the rabbi, like what you tell them that the food something on Shabbos.
Right. So there wouldn't be any sadness. Right. So that's where the Chazon Ish comes from. That's not the common minhag though.
Even in Avel, even in Avel, in the middle of Shiva, comes to shul on Shabbos without any outward simonei
That is correct. An Ovel, that's exactly right, because why you can't have Avelus before Hesia? The what's it called? Elitzion, right? Yes, it's an interesting minhag. It's an interesting minhag to use the tune of Elitzion. There, at least I will say that Elitzion is a kina, and that the composition of the music for Elitzion, I don't know how when it was composed. The kina was composed later. Like, so if you're going to say it's Avelus B'far Hesia, it's at least it's different than using the Eicha trop. Eicha is the, and the nigunim of how to lane it are probably more ancient. I hear the point though. I hear the shaila.
Technically, it's supposed to do it before Shabbos.
Right, correct. So also that's why you can invite the Avel in right after the Chadodi, because Shabbos is about to start. It's a little troublesome in the winter when you daven, after Zman. It's really already Shabbos, and but Tisha B'av always falls out in the summer. So Baruch Hashem. Except for the people in the southern hemisphere, I don't know what they do. Okay. Right, short or fast for the daytime part. Yes. Okay. Let's go down to the next comment. So if you're gonna call up, so you already said Kaddish, so there's already been a break. Once there's a break, well, what about Shvi though? I thought if Shvi knows Maftir, he's the only one who knows Maftir. You invite her right into the Haftorah. Why? Shvi, even if the Shvi is the one who gets the Maftir, Rotze lahaftir, he has to do a Maftir aliyah. You have to have another aliyah. Kevan shehifsik b'kaddish, because there was a break with the Kaddish. Hanichnasim, why? What's the problem? Hanichnasim lo yedu shezeh hamaftir kar mitchila b'Torah. The people who just walk in the shul, okay? The people who just walked in the shul, they won't know that he just got an aliyah. They'll think he just got called up and he went straight to laying them the Navi. The Ika be Zion la Torah, and it'll be a disgrace to the Torah that people should think that people can get called straight up to laying Navi, that it's of equal stature to Torah.
That's another good trivia. How can Yisrael get two?
How can Yisrael get two aliyahs? No, he's the only guy who knows how to lane, the Torah, and before and after the Kaddish. Correct.
Anybody that
is like advanced. These are advanced. These are on the advanced Gabbai exams. Yes.
Anybody that comes to shul so late should be ignored anyway.
There you go. Anyways, the Ika Bizayin La Torah Kedamin Begamal the Hamaftir Tzarich Shikar Torah Tchilim Vekvod Torah. The takana of the Maftir is that he has to read from the Torah first before then he can lane from the Navi. Okay. That's why, because of Kavod Torah. The Hainu the Hamaftir Yaftir Banavim Vivar Chalav V'lo Yikru B'Torah. He goes straight to reading from the Navi. And he makes a bracha on it, and he doesn't make a bracha on the Torah. He doesn't read from the Torah. Then we're equating the words of the Nevi'im to the Torah. Look, the words of the Nevi'im are very important, but they're not equal to Torah. Bekriya ubracha. We're going to say, look, I'm going to read it, and we make a bracha on it. What's going on here? It's not. This is not kavod haTorah. So therefore he has to make a bracha and read from the Torah, and from this everyone will see that Torah is the Ikar, is the essential book that we turn to, right? Not the Navi. We call Makom. Call somebody else up. Don't call the Shvi up. It's better anyways. It's more correct. Yeah. In terms of
not go from 7 to
the next guy. Yeah, correct. But it's only like if it's one of these minyanim which are being run on the fly. You have 11 people there. They're figuring it out as they go, and then they go, who can lane? They finish. They say the Kaddish. Who can lane Haftorah? I can. I just got the Aliyah though. Okay. No, call him up again. It's not ideal, for sure. Again, yes.
No, but we were talking about, I meant to say, it's not ideal to do it in the first place. It's
Yes.
not ideal to sort of go from 7 to the house.
Correct. Because it looks, why? Because it looks a certain way. Someone will maybe will walk in and say, look, this guy got the, this guy just came up only to do to do Navi. The only to read free retreat from a Navi. Yeah.
I just want to say, because I think what it's saying here is, it's not even okay, not, if you want to skip Kaddish and just do the Haftorah, that's not ideal.
Yeah.
It's better to have Kaddish than to have somebody do.
Yes.
Not to go from 7 without Kaddish, so that nobody would think that, right? Because you're not saying Kaddish, so they would see the first.
They would see. Okay, they were there. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Basically, this whole sip is not ideal. Yeah, that's what it's like.
After that,
After the street, but there's right. But we were saying, remember the whole idea was this whole law only applies if it's after Kaddish, right?
Right.
Meaning, if it's before Kaddish, the person conceptually can just go straight
in, and then do Kaddish
But
after.
that's not ideal, is what I'm saying. We were asking before, why don't we just do it?
Right.
Yeah, but if you're the only guy that can do Haftorah, what's
Right.
it's funny. It's like, be more and more like that in our
What was
world.
that?
The latecomer does enough. So you say
That was Simeon's point. Simeon's point. The latecomer, like, why are we worrying about this guy anyways? Right.
You know what I'm
Right. Right. That's how important Kabbalah Torah is. Even for the latecomers, we want to make sure that they. That's right. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Right. There are no rules for the talkers. Right? What do we do with them? They weren't paying attention either. All right. Hey, what are you doing? Okay. Let's keep going. Next part of the Mishnah Brura. Chavtes. Yaftir Misha Allah is that if their Kaddish wasn't said, then the person who got Shvi can go ahead and do it if he knows it. And that's again assuming that others don't know it. Okay. Chavtes. I know Yaftir Banavi, that he should just go ahead and finish. He should conclude, with the Navi. He doesn't have to go back and read. He just read Shvi. He doesn't have to go and read the Torah again. Doesn't have done Aliyah. Elamasha Karb Shvi B'Sima. What he read for Shvi as a conclusion of the parsha. Oh, Kishahosifu Misha Karba Achron, or if he was an Achron, let's say, right? Ola Gamla Maftir. So he can now go ahead and just go ahead straight. He's the Maftir too. He's the concluding Aliyah. He can go ahead and read the Navi. The Hakaimalam, the Hamaftir, Ola Mina Shiva. Whoa. How can we count the Maftir as the. No, because we paskin as a Machlokas in the Gemara. We paskin the Maftir can count for the Shvi. The reason that we don't, this is the real answer to why don't we, because we try to be Yotze L'chol HaDeos. That there's a misopinion out there that the Maftir doesn't count for the Shvi, for this one of the 7. So we rather have 7 and then a Maftir. But Meikar Hadin, the Maftir does count as one of the 7. Okay, but that's really why we don't like to do to count it there.
But the Maftir is a repetition.
No.
Maftir already read the Maftir.
So Maftir, I hear I'm talking about the Aliyah, not the content of the Aliyah, but the receiving of the Aliyah. Forget them all for a moment. The content of what's read, whether it's a repetition of what was read at the end of the parsha or it's a special reading. Of course, by the way, this doesn't work. But just as a side point, I'll come back to your point, Simeon. This whole thing falls apart when you have Parsha Zachor.
But Rav, we just read that if somebody who has the Aliyah of Shvi'i, where the Maftir is read the first time, who's going to read the Navi, there is no repetition of the Maftir.
Yeah, correct. Because there was no.
So why are we getting bent out of shape about rereading the Maftir?
So here's the thing: if the person who's Shvi, he gets the Aliyah and he finishes the parsha, right? Parsha concludes with his Aliyah. He says the bracha at the end, Baruch Atah Hashem, there's no saying HaTorah. Great. Now he knows how to lay in the Haftorah. He's the only one who knows how to lay in the Haftorah. The Kaddish hasn't been said yet. What we're saying is that he can count as the maftir. Maftir just means the last guy to get an aliyah, who's then going to lay in from the Navi. That's all maftir means. We have co-opted the word maftir to mean, which 99% of the time is what it means, is the guy who gets another aliyah, which repeats the previous, the conclusion of the part. Maftir means, that's like sitting in the context of a fast day with the third aliyah. Maftir just the last guy to get an aliyah, who's going to lay in from the Navi. So here the situation is, Shvi is going to lay in from the Navi. He is the maftir. The question, the Gemara is, can the last guy who's going to lane the Haftorah, can he also count for the Minyan Shiva? Can he count for the 7 aliyos or no? Because he's also going to have another job of laning from the Haftorah. He can't count as one of the 7 who lay in the Parsha. And the answer, it's a machlokas in the Gemara. And the Gemara, and what we paskin at the end, Meikar Hadin, by letter of the law, maftir can count as the Shvi. Can count as one of the 7 aliyos. So therefore, if you lane the 6 aliyos, and then the 7th guy comes up, and he's also gonna. This is not ideal. What I'm saying, it's not ideal, okay? But let's say Mr. Number 7 gets called up. He's also gonna lane the Haftorah. That can count leminyan shiva. That can count as one of the 7 olim, even though he's also gonna lane the Haftorah right afterwards.
But without the repetition of maftir, you have 7.
That's the point. You got it. Exactly. We have 7 without repeating. The last guy is he's doubling. Think of him as in our terminology and Gabbai terminology today. I'll talk like a Gabbai because I know Simeon's a Gabbai at heart. So this guy, his title is Shvi'i / Maftir. That's his title. Like on a fast day, the 3rd guy at Mincha is Shlishi / Maftir. He's a slash. He's a double agent. He's a hybrid. So this guy can count as both a Shvi and as the Maftir. Because the question is, can a Maftir count as one of the 7 aliyos? And the answer is yes. By the way, how do we know this? Because on a fast day also, right? The 3rd guy can count, even though he's the Maftir. He's going to lay from Maftir. Maftir is not correct. It's not like if you had 7 aliyos, right? You forgot the maftir. It's not ideal because actually the problem is the bizarre to the Torah. But it's not ma'akev, like I didn't fulfill the mitzvah of 7 olim as a communal mitzvah of 7 for Kriyas Torah. Tom, you had a question. I think you said a moment ago. Yeah. Okay. Where were we here? Okay. Chavteth. Okay. We're in the middle here. Okay. And if we were to be in such a situation, like we were in COVID, where the guy who got Shvi, that he laid in the Haftorah, like he did everything, right? There was a guy who did everything, whatever. So then, or the situation that was described right here, where Shvi is the maftir, and he goes ahead and lays it, then you would postpone the Kaddish you would postpone the Kaddish after Haftorah and its brachos. So you would finish, Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbat Yiskadav Yiskadav, and you go right to Chatzi Kaddish right there. Because why? Why are you saying that Chatzi Kaddish? You're ending the Inyan, right? This is the end of this part of the service, and now we're moving on to to the next part. Okay.
Maybe that's enough to not make it a bizayon of the Torah, like enough of a simon that you didn't make it was okay to do the Kaddish at the end.
Right.
It's such a change in protocol that it takes away the bizayon.
Well, no, we wouldn't do that unless I think it has to do with the fact that there's a hemshech of the guy who was up there. Because if you say Kaddish Yiskadav,
yeah.
So suddenly the guy who walks into shul.
That's what I'm saying. So it would never be
correct. It's not an opportunity because there's always going to be you can always have a few second gap where some guy can walk in. But once you insert a Kaddish there, anyone walks in, they walk in the middle of Kaddish, then they go, Yamod, or they just see a guy, they just go, the guy just starts laying the Haftorah, like, what was that? Right? He just got called up for the Haftorah. Like, it wouldn't be right. Okay, Lamed, Imyodeya. So let's say the guy here. Oh, yes, Stu, go ahead. I skipped. Oh, sorry, the cough. People got it, yeah.
Why do we say Kaddish?
To indicate that the Kriyas HaTorah has been completed. That is why it's there. And the Kriyas HaTorah has been completed, and to separate between the Kriyas HaChova and now the Kriyas, well, it could be there's another Chova on the other side of this, if it's like Zachar or whatever. But like it is demarcating the end of the Kriya of the and the conclusion. Sorry, it's really demarcating the conclusion of we are done with calling up the Minyan Ha'olim for Kriyas HaTorah this morning. This is extra now.
Right.
So the Haftorah. Because then the guy who was called up for Shvi, he's if you Kaddish him in the middle, you've now created a time gap where someone can walk in, and after the Kaddish is over, they come in the middle of Kaddish, the guy walks in and he goes, the guy just started laying from the Navi. What a disgrace to the Torah. The guy got called up and he just starts, because of that scenario, correct. Because of the potential bizayon for the Torah. That's right. That's what he said here. The potential bizayon for the potential. Yeah, you can have a minion of 10 guys in so that no one can leave. No one in, no one out. And this could never happen. But because of the potential bizayon for the Torah, that people see like he's just laning Haftorah without having even sort of touched the Torah. Sorry, laning Navi without laning Torah. Like that's not proper.
Now makes sense to me when we think after the Torah that you say the Kaddish after the first two.
Yeah, correct.
That's 6, 7.
That's 6, and then the 7. The 7 is the Minyan Ha'olim is completed. So, by the way, what about why don't we talked with the touch on this a little last week? Why not say if there are Hosafos, say Kaddish after 7? Because no, you should conclude the parsha. You should have two conditions met. 7 olim have completed, and the parsha was completed. When you have those two conditions met, it's Yiskada, the Yiskadash, right? Then you can go into Kaddish. Right. See, I understand the latecomer here is. Let's assume he wasn't a latecomer. Let's assume the guy had to use the bathroom. The guy had to use the bathroom. But let's give it the benefit of the doubt here. It wasn't a latecomer because you're like the latecomer wasn't so makbid on davening shachas. Oh, let's say it wasn't the latecomer. Let's say it was the guy who had to use the bathroom. But the guy had to use the bathroom. He knows the halacha. If I was going to use the bathroom, I have to step out right away. Right? I'm not allowed to really daven while I have the feeling of the urge to need to use the bathroom. So he steps out to use the bathroom, and he comes back in, and he comes in the middle of Kaddish, and he's the frum guy. He knows his halacha, and he goes, "What's going on?" And he comes in, and he goes right up to the bima. He pulls the rabbi over, and goes, "What's going on here? I learned in the Mishnah Berurah." No. Missed it. The guy got shvit. I don't know. No, you're making things up now. No, so it was the guy who used the bathroom. Okay, it was a bar hachi. Okay, let's finish Kat on Chavtes. Kastav Aprima Gadim. The Huadin bechol maftir kishashachach lomar hakadosh mikodem v'nizkar achar shekvar hakara hamaftir batorah lo yomar hakadosh ad la'acha kriyas haftarah uberchoseh. Okay, the Prima Gadim is a situation where, my goodness, there's Gabayim and there are backseat Gabayim. I don't know if you've ever seen these things. There are backseat Gabayim who, any mistake that's ever made, right? Every shul has in this situation. Okay, so the Prima Gadim says here, if somebody forgets to say Kaddish, the shul forgets to say Kaddish, which again, in our day and age, no one would ever. You forgot Kaddish. It wouldn't happen. But let's say you forgot Kaddish. You go right into the next maftir guy gets an aliyah. They do Hagba. Everyone's like out to all sleeping at the wheel here. They start the Haftorah, and someone in the middle of the Haftorah goes, "Oh, what are we doing? We forgot to say Kaddish." So then you'll say the Kaddish after the Haftorah. If you forget to say Kaddish in the correct place, then you should say Kaddish, and then the good luck to the Gabbai. He's gonna be people will be he'll be done. He's fired. There was a drill in the middle, and everybody back in, and so then they forgot where they were. Dudley comes first guy, Stevens. The kid is club, right?
It's very hard to oversight that.
Be recorded. I'm very careful.
Rob,
Okay.
it's very hard
Yes.
to oversight that because most shuls insert a mishaberach for the cholim at that point.
Yeah, it would be hard to imagine Kaddish being missed, but if it were missed, now you know what to do. But very rare scenario. Okay. Lamed, Im Yodea. So if there's somebody else, sorry, you call up the Shvi to do, sorry, if the you haven't said Kaddish, Shvi can be the maftir if he knows it. And if the Shvi doesn't know it, but only Shishi knows it. He's the one who knows maftir. Nobody else knows maftir. No one else who didn't get an aliyah, and Shvi doesn't know. Shishi knows it though. So what do I do? So Shishi, as b'chol gavnei tzarech lachazor v'likros u'levarach mator l'shem maftir. Then, okay, not even a question. You have to call up a new guy for so forget. And you have to call up and you have to make the brachos again and read it from the Torah l'shem maftir. Okay, Lamed Aleph. That if someone else knows it, so then don't get into this whole mess. And he points out just one interesting halacha here. Lo yaftir u'b'shabbat chazon b'makom shehaminhag shekoren harav lamaftir. If the minhag in the community is that the rabbi gets the maftir for chazon. Which is not our minhag in our community. The minhag in our community is that the rabbi gets an aliyah on Shabbos Nacham, if I'm not mistaken. I think if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Morrison always does the Shabbos Nacham. I could be wrong about that. If I'm not mistaken, I think I've been asked when Rabbi Morrison got here to on that particular Shabbos to lane it. So anyways, then don't call lo yikra'uhu. Mikodem l'shlishi, then don't call him up for shlishi. If the rabbi's the rabbi gets the chazon haftorah or any other haftorah, if you fill in the blank example, then don't call him up for an earlier aliyah, which makes sense. Again, it's not the ideal to have. It's better to spread the wealth, spread the kavod, spread the connection, the aliyos to different people. V'ayin ve'eli rabbi says, take a look at Eli Rabbi for more of a discussion on this topic. Yes, Yair. Nice and loud so everyone can hear you.
So with the Gabba when the seventh year that comes up, shouldn't he just have known before? He can also read them.
Yes, this is the reason that this all rarely happens is because the Gabayim, have it planned. What aliyah, this one's gonna get aliyah, that one's gonna get. It's all planned, ahead of time, and therefore, so therefore you don't run into the situation of who knows Haftorah, who knows Haftorah. The person learning Haftorah usually sometimes even know before Shabbos that they're supposed to learn Haftorah. So these things rarely happen with any minimal amount of planning. This rarely occurs. This is like the the emergency handbook for Gabbai in the back. Like these are some of the extra halachos. And you are all very well equipped for interesting scenarios.
Right, because it says, that if somebody were to get an aliyah on Simchas Torah,
yes,
also supposed to be chasam breachis, you would call them again.
Yes, correct.
If somebody bought maftir and and they also got early aliyah, you would call them again, right? Like there are a lot of circumstances where
So Simchas Torah is I would say Simchas Torah I think is the only exception.
Meaning, if they're supposed to do Torah and they also get another aliyah beforehand
on Simchas Torah, but Simchas Torah is a different ballgame where we are leaning on a lot, as we've talked about in previous weeks. We're leaning on a number of things. On Hosafos, right? We are obviously very lenient about the whole Inyan on Simchas Torah. Even we've talked about even children getting aliyos, based on the discussions we've had on Simchas Torah. Aside from Kol Arim, there are lots of other halachos on Simchas Torah where we're lenient. Usually, also, I don't know. I'm just not a critique here. Like there are a lot of things that are very different on Simchas Torah. I mean, like even decorum is a totally different situation in Simchas Torah. You know, I don't know if you noticed, Steve. You know, Simchas Torah is a little not just here. Like, it's like so here we're lenient. Yes, I saw that yesterday when I was preparing that someone who gets Chassan Torah, Chassan Bereshis can also get one of the early aliyahs when they're calling everybody up. I don't know what I'm in against here. I'm not sure. We don't do that, right? I think that the person who gets one of the Chassanim doesn't just waits to get an aliyah later.
No reason.
But right, if that was only then they start auctioning off Chassan Pickle, right? So somebody has to get it a second time. Okay. By the way, the whole auctioning off of aliyos is not new. This is something that is mentioned in. This is not a new fundraising method. Okay, this is not a new problem. Okay, back to Lamed. There's a Lamed Aleph now. Lo Yaftir. Oh no, sorry that one. Lamed Beis. Excuse me. Misha Allah Kvar. Im kar ula adam la Torah beis hakneses acheres v'nizdamin lo osla parsha shekara hayom tzarich lachzor levarech. Let's say the guy gets an aliyah in a different shul, and he gets aliyah in one shul. So is he? And now he shows up to me. So I mean, he's in minyan number. He's in shul A. He gets an aliyah in shul A. He ate the cholent in shul A. They had an early minyan in shul A. Down the block, this happens in places like the Five Towns or Teaneck, right? Down the block, happens here with the haftorah with between minyanim. Oh, between minyanim, you go to the hashkama minyan. Right, yeah, but you go to the Hashkam Minyan, you get the Hashkam Minyan, you get an Aliyah Hashkam Minyan, and you stroll your way into the main shul, and you can imagine they're up to the Haftorah, the Gabbai is looking around. Anybody know how to lane? Anybody know lane Haftorah? Guy who got an Aliyah goes walking. Oh yeah, I know. All right, Yamod, and you get the second Aliyah that day. But I thought you're only supposed to get the Aliyah if the Maftir if you didn't get an Aliyah earlier today because we're trying to separate, spread out the Kavanah Torah. So what does he say here? If a person already read from the Torah in a different shul, then he's damen lo osa parsha shekara hayom and tzarich lachazor levarich. And now he's like, oh, he's getting a second aliyah, he's getting a second whatever. Okay, it's not a problem. When is it a problem? When it's in the same minyan, the same set of 7 aliyos, and now the same guy is getting a maftir aliyah. It's better not to do that. Yeah, if you need to, you need to. Okay, guys. Good. Okay.
So does he make a second set of brachos on the Torah?
Absolutely.
In the same shul?
Called up for another aliyah in a different minyan. Absolutely. By the way, this has happened. It's very. I've been not in the main shul because usually there are a number of cars. Let's say I got aliyah in the main shul. I got an Ashkam minyan, and I end up in the Sephardic minyan. The Sephardic minyan, our shul is very small, and so I end up there sometimes. They show up and they're like, "Oh, Yamor HaKohen HaNichbad HaNivur They get the Kohen Aliyah. They start calling me. I didn't ask for it. Okay, so they call me up for a Kohen. I already got. Doesn't matter. I can get Aliyah again. And then and then it's time for the team minyan. And the team minyan. By the way, there are very few teams right now who are Kohanim. Okay, we have cats now. Matthew Katz is bar mitzvah, but until he was bar mitzvah, there's JJS. There are really very few of these kids all have to go away for a Shabbos. So I walk in. Oh, Rabbi Klinger, we need a Kohen. Okay, so Kohanim often have this challenge where it's multiple times. This also comes up where else on Yontif. I mean. Comes up every day if you're in Israel, but on Yontif, if you're a Kohen, and I start davening here, and I duchen here, and then I end up in the main shul. So do I duchen again or no? Double duchening is not allowed. Or better yet, right? What if So can I double duchen? The answer is for sure you can double duchen. In fact, sometimes they'll even be like something when we had if you remember during. So the comeback from COVID, there was a minyan outside, there was a minyan inside. Sometimes they would be like, we don't have a Kohen. So they would recruit a Kohen. We needed someone to do. Birchas Kohanim. Guys, please stop. Okay, so that was that's what he says here. Okay, let's look here. Okay, so let's pause here. We'll finish the siman next time. Vav and Zayin are obviously very short, as you can see. This is in the interesting situations. What happens if there's a mistake? The shliach tzibur, the Baal Koreh makes a mistake, and he lanes the aliyah, the parsha in 6 aliyos. Again, today that would never happen. We have a chumash in front of us. Everyone will be screaming, you went too far. Stop. But today's then people not ever had a chumash in their lap. You can imagine the guy the Baal Koreh loses track of what aliyah. He's just laning. He lanes shishi as a double aliyah, and now you finish the whole parsha in 6 aliyos. What do you do? All right, that's the Imtar Shlech Tzibur, and you finish the parsha in 6 aliyos. And worse off, he says Kaddish. He finishes the 6th aliyah, and he says Kaddish. No one catches this. But what do you do once you guys realize it? And then the last thing is, about reading the parsha in the morning on Shabbos, and you skip a pasuk. The Baal Koreh skips a pasuk accidentally. None of those you do on purpose. What do you do? What do you do in a situation where a pasuk was skipped?
On purpose?
Okay.
What if he did it on purpose?
No. If he did it on purpose, then he shouldn't be the Baal Koreh anymore. They should fire him.
Why would
But
fire about
you're right. Okay. All right. Then we'll go on. By the way, big question. Also, the whole little tiny siman. Why don't we have a separate mafsir reading every week? If it's Pesach or Sukkot or Shavuos, we open up the Parshas Pinchas and we open up the scroll, or Rosh Chodesh, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. We open up Uvroshay Chodshechem Takrivu La Hashem. Wait, there is a maftir. There is a description of the korbanos musafim of Shabbos. Uviyom hashabash So why don't we say that every Shabbos the maftir should lane about the korbanos musafim? So we're going to talk about that next week. There is a technical answer as to why every Shabbos we don't, but when it's Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, we do add it. Did you ever notice that? We don't just do Roshei Chodshechem. We start with Yom HaShabbat. Why do we add in Shabbos? It's Rosh Chodesh. That's why we're letting Maftir. So you'll see there's a technical answer that answers that question too about the whole Indian. All right, next week.
Rob, thank you very much.
Rabbi?
Thank you.
It's the end of the sheets. I need to make copies for next week. That's right. Very good. Yep.
Rob, Hind is calling you.
Yeah, stay on Simeon because you're going to hear this. So many of us